All right. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for coming out. I wasn't really sure how many people would come out to this, but seems to be a good turnout. So thanks very much for everyone coming out. I'd also like to thank the Prince George for the venue and the great service tonight. Our organizational inspired sponsors, Province of Nova Scotia, Kings Wharf, and the event sponsors, Seed and CYBF. So my name is Moses Robichaud. I'm Director of Entrepreneurship with Fusion Halifax. I'm also an entrepreneur myself. I have a photo booth company called Laugh It Up, but that's not really what today is about. So the reason I want to do this panel discussion is because you always hear about, or you always see panel discussions, and they're pretty successful. Well, they're obviously successful, but they always talk about the tough times they had back in the day, working in their business, like the hard go they had. And I thought it'd be nice to kind of get some people who are working in their businesses to talk about their day-to-day life and struggles and things like that. So without any further ado, I'll just get the panelists to introduce themselves, starting wherever they want. If you don't mind, just introduce yourself, your business, and the product and service you provide.
My name is Jessie Gillis, and I own Helen Drive Storehouse and Helen Drive Catering. Helen Drive Storehouse is a 100% local whole animal butcher shop in the Hydrostone. We do everything from scratch there, and we work 100% locally with all small family farms. And the catering company runs along that accord too, and we specialize in small private dinners and functions as well.
Thanks, Jesse. My name is Rob Oxner, and I'm a barber, and I own a barber shop called St. Louis Gentleman's Barber Shop. Can everyone hear me? Never spoken to a microphone before. It's working well. So it's just a barber shop. It's very small. I enjoy dealing with people, and when I opened up the shop, my whole goal was to just create a relaxed atmosphere for people to kind of sorry guys, for people to kind of come into, as if they're coming into my home or my apartment or something like that, like my friends did when I first started cutting hair, and just to try to recreate that, I guess. And so far things are going really well, and I enjoy it a lot. And usually it's only one person I'm talking to, not this many. So thank you very much.
Hey everybody, my name's Matt. My company is Presenters Podium Educational Technology. We're software for higher institutions, universities primarily. We're software we're trying to change the way students learn in university. It's always been multiple choice written assignments, and when I went to university, that's what most of the time that's how we submitted assessments. So I entered in the real world, and I realized that to get a job in an interview, or to sell yourself or to sell your product, whatever it may be, you need good oral communication skills. So we've created a solution that makes students convey their answers under pressure compared to multiple choice, where you'll forget. There's a chance you'll probably forget the information. So yeah.
Right on. Thank you. My name is Chris Coppersmith. I'm with Spring Loaded Technology as the CEO, and we were incorporated a little over a year ago. And at Spring Loaded, we're developing new knee brace technology that for the first time can assist leg muscle strength. And so basically, in a nutshell, what our product does is has a spring-loaded hinge mechanism on the side of a knee brace that loads energy when the user squats down, and then releases that energy upon extension of the knee joint to enhance performance for athletes, manual laborers, military personnel, as well as regain mobility for individuals who have lost their mobility because of osteoarthritis or a neurological disc problem. So yeah, we've been around for a year. We are in development mode, and we'll be aiming to launch about 1 year from now.
Hi, I'm Jessie Doyle. I am one of the co-owners of Fruition. It's a raw vegan food bar located at the Seaport Farmers Market. I'm a holistic nutritional consultant as well, so we do workshops, one-on-one consultations, some small-scale catering, as well as a lot of on-site food production focusing on local and organic and super healthy foods that still taste really great.
Perfect. Thanks very much, guys. I just want to point out that Chris is recently the winner of the I3 competition in Zone 4, and so I submitted or I applied for that competition, and there were 120 submissions, and I didn't make the cut, but Chris won it, so congrats to him, and a little applause. And we used to be neighbors at the office. Anyways, so my second question is, why did you start your business? How did you start it, and what was the process? And like, obviously we have Seed and CYBF here. Some of you have worked with them. So talk about the funding and the process and everything like that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah. So why did you start your business? We'll just go with that.
Okay. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and since probably about age 18, but I never really had an idea that was big. And it doesn't have to always be big, but I really wanted to go big. Yeah, I guess you could say. So I went to university, and I finished university. I went into the real world, and I started having to present in front of others. And I mean, to this day, I'm still trying to become better at presenting, but I realized it was a skill that I really lacked. So I took Toastmasters, where I started at the beginning, and then my mic even on. Oh, it is? Okay. So I started at presentation one. I was shaking and I was nervous, and then I went all the way to 10. And I learned through repetition and learned from my mistakes that you can improve your presentation skills. And it's because most people fear it. They say people fear presenting in front of others more than they do deaf. And it's really just what's going on in your brain. And if you do it multiple times, then you'll actually build more confidence and you'll get that job in the interview. And that's why I built it, because I feel like there's a lot of people who don't take a certain path in life because they're afraid of that something could happen. And it's just getting over that fear. So right now we have students, we have over 300 students using our software right now, and it's very empowering to see presentation one, because our software allows students to do multiple times. And it's great to see presentation one versus presentation 10 and actually see how presentation one, their head is down and they're looking away. And then presentation 10, they're up and they're moving, they're using body language and they're using their eye contact. So to answer your question, I built the software because I wanted to create a software solution where I could scale internationally, just to get it out to every part of the world. But in addition, I really wanted to help students become more confident in their ability to convey their ideas. Because really, in the end, I mean, there's many quotes that say if you could have the best idea in the world, but if you can't convey it, then really it's not the best idea in the world.
Well, I started because I needed a job. My background is that I'm currently a PhD candidate in neuroscience, and the academic world for my particular discipline is an interesting one. A lot of people in my position at the university spend a lot of time in labs doing research, and you kind of get used to a very specific research process and answering questions that, in my case anyway, were called basic in nature. And basic research is very valuable in that you kind of go out there and you explore the world, and you hope that eventually it will turn out to be something really useful and make a big impact in the world. For me, I was really motivated to get closer to the interface between research and commercialization. And so I was enjoying the research side. I was stimulated intellectually, but not fulfilled, I guess, in the way that I thought I could be by actually developing a product and releasing it onto the market. So I was motivated to go out and find a couple of co-founders. I did that through university, and I met a couple of people with very different backgrounds than myself, mechanical engineer, machinist, and someone who actually knew something about entrepreneurship. And we founded a company together. And I think part of the question was, how did we start?
Yeah, if you can, just kind of what was the process?
Yeah, so I mean, step one for us was going through and really just vetting the idea and talking, for us it's an orthopedic product, talking to orthopedic surgeons as well as end users and collecting data through first-hand interviews, surveys, through web analytics and these kinds of things to make sure that there really was product market fit, that we had a problem and a solution that worked together. And then we went out and started, for our case, having to raise money. And so Matt and I were talking a little bit earlier about that, and that there's many different ways to launch a startup, and you can bootstrap it and fund it yourself, or just go really lean, or in some cases you might need to raise some money if you're developing a brand new physical product. And so in our case, we've been in the last 8 to 12 months raising money to fund what is a fairly sizable R&D project. And so that has been very important for us to get off the ground. And yeah, did I answer every?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
I had no intention of starting a business at all. My partner and I, my life partner, my boyfriend, and I both were kind of underemployed and not really enjoying our jobs much. We'd taken different things at school and didn't really have like specific plan at all, but we loved healthy food and we loved the farmer's market, and we thought it would just be really fun to sell kale chips from a farmer's market table. So we did, and it went really well. And then there was no kale because it was winter, so we tried a couple other things to see if our customers would like those, and they did. And then we wanted to make foods that we couldn't make from our own kitchen. They needed to be an inspected on-site kitchen, and lugging things back and forth in a suitcase from our apartment to the market was getting really exhausting. So we got an on-site kitchen at the market, and everything just grew really slowly and sort of organically for us. This is kind of, for us, it's worked really well because we didn't have to take a lot of risks right away. We could learn as we went because neither of us had any business background whatsoever. We had no idea what we were doing. So it gave us a chance to learn and to take classes and workshops at Seed and speak to other people and get advice from people and to slowly raise money as we needed it. So we started with a small crowdfunding campaign, and that was really lovely, the generosity and just people being really excited about what we were doing and donating money. And then we went through both Seed and CYBF for funding as well. And in the meantime, I started going to school as a nutritionist, and that all kind of tied in really well together.
Thank you. All right, Rob.
So what led me into opening up the barbershop was I spent 9 years as a hairdresser in Halifax here, and I never really had any intention back then of opening my own business because the shops that I worked in were pretty big, and there was a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of capital that you'd have to operate such a business, and a lot of headaches as well. After about 9 years, I moved to Australia with my now wife, and I started working in a barbershop instead of a hair salon because the whole time I was working in hair salons, I realized that my favorite part was dealing with the guys. No offense to any ladies, but I enjoyed the conversation more and stuff like that, and it was just more comfortable for me. And so when I got to Australia, I didn't really want to start from the beginning as a hairdresser and just trying to figure out, or just develop a clientele again, I guess. And but in a barbershop, guys come in for a haircut, and it's not necessarily with the same person every time. It's just more of a routine type of thing, I guess. And so I looked for a job in a barbershop where I could just jump into the job, start working, and earn some money. And I realized that well, I had a lot more fun doing it, and as well, the scale of it was a lot simpler. There's not a lot of overhead. So I saw the potential there when I started, and really enjoyed my time there. We decided that we were going to move back to Halifax, and I realized that nobody was doing exactly what I wanted, where I wanted to work or whatever. There was nothing like that in terms of the just the ease of it, and also maybe a bit of a hybrid where I could use my communication skills that I developed through being a hairdresser and talking to people, and just be able to offer guys maybe just a slightly different kind of service in terms of I guess when it comes down to it, in barbershops you can, mostly in Halifax, I guess there was like just an older style barbershop where people were what am I trying to say here? Sorry guys, not really good at this.
Old farts?
No, not necessarily old farts, but just like, there was this push for guys our age, I guess, like back a few years ago, to do this. There was this whole metrosexual kind of thing where guys were going to salons and stuff like that. There was never the time where it was really fashionable for guys to go to barbershops. And in Melbourne, a bigger city, people were doing that a lot. And I saw the opportunity to come back here and do that, I guess. And not that there's anything wrong with what was going on already in barbershops, but it was just a bit of a different take. So that's why I came back to do that, and give my friends a place that they would feel comfortable and stuff like that, I guess. And one of the things that I wanted to mention about when I came back and started looking for a space, I used a commercial real estate agent, and I found that super helpful. They were able to guide me in a lot of ways in terms of the lease. They look out for my best interest all the time, and what a lot of people don't know is they don't actually have to pay these people. They work on your behalf, and when you sign a lease with someone, they are compensated through that. So that was something that I didn't know anything about. I had a friend that was a commercial real estate agent, and I started asking him about it. I had no interest in it before that, but I started asking him about it, and he filled me in, and that worked out great. And a lot of my friends who are business owners as well, they haven't used a commercial real estate agent, and when they have, if they have any issues or anything like that, they don't have anyone to look after them. So that was really helpful. I don't know, have you used a commercial real estate agent?
No, I didn't, but it would help.
Yeah.
It would have helped. I started the butcher shop a little bit out of frustration, to be honest. I had moved back from being away for 7 years and going to culinary school and doing apprenticeships in Europe, and then kind of fell into butchery when I was 21 years old, more so on the culinary side because I wanted to learn more about how to be a better chef, and I was writing my papers for my chef trade at that time, and I just wanted to understand more about meat. So coming back to Halifax, I was like, I'll start a catering company, it'll be great, it'll focus on local, and then I'll open a restaurant. And that was my whole idea. And then I came to Halifax and I opened my catering company, and I continuously had troubles with trying to find 100% local meat that was pastured, hormone-free, and raised respectfully. Not necessarily organic, but just under a high standard of respect and sustainability. And I think spending time both in Vancouver, BC, and then Europe, I had apprenticed in butcher shops, and I had seen just how well those larger cities worked with their different agriculture industries and farmers in order to help sustain them. And at that point, when I first moved back to Halifax, there was nothing like that really reached out to our small scale farmers in order to help sustain their efforts and see their efforts grow. So, and in order for my catering company to grow, I needed more meat. And I didn't want to continuously drive to the valley, so I thought, why not open a 100% local butcher shop in Halifax and see if we can make it fly. And that was 2 years ago now, and we're coming on our 3rd year and really excited to be doing so. So really, honestly, the more research I did into our farming and agriculture system in Nova Scotia, the more it made me want to open the shop. We have a big social mission to what we do as well, because we work 100% locally and because of the farmers that we work with. Our mission is to see them help sustain their efforts while we work with our community to help educate them on what buying locally is and on what our farmers do and how hard they work in order to produce what we get to sell at our store. So we also use a very traditional style of butchery where we use whole animals, so you can get any kind of cut that you're looking for, which usually isn't seen anymore because of large scale shops like Sobeys or Superstore or even Pizza just bring in different boxes. We break down from whole and put quite a bit of labor into that, and are really excited to do so. So yeah, that's kind of where the shop came from. I wanted meat. I wanted to be honest. Yeah, and so at that point, I needed to find commercial space. Should have had a realtor. It would have been really helpful. It was just me like biking around the city, sweating. Where am I gonna put this shop? But I was fortunate enough to have a really great commercial real estate lawyer on my side while we were doing it early. So that was a good friend. I was fortunate. And then the second step was to find funding. And that funding came from CYBF, PDC, Seed, who were lovely and very open and supportive to work with, and still are. And then I also have a bank loan as well, so pulling my bank loan.
And your location's awesome.
And the location is lovely. Yeah, we're fortunate to be in a location that's surrounded by small business, so that was important too. I wanted to have that kind of the feel of being around a community that's supported by small business. I'm sure it's kind of similar to being at the market, where day in and day out you get to communicate with and work with in some way or another and support other small businesses. And in Halifax, because we're so small business strong, I think it's really important to continue to support each other wherever your business is. So.
Excuse me, where is it precisely located so people can come?
Yep, it's on the new side of the Hydrostone, so it's attached to the apartment building there. So there's ourselves, there's Lang Optometry, there's a design store as well, and the adventure travel, and then Starbucks. And so we're just along the line.
All right, so run us through a typical day. So from when you get up to when you go to sleep, if you sleep.
I wake up in the morning about 7 o'clock with my kids. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, both girls. And I play with them, get them breakfast. And I usually get out the door about 9 o'clock. I start work at 10. I like to get there about 15 minutes early when I can and have a coffee before I start work. The day usually, it's better now. I recently grew from just a 1-chair shop. It was about 150 square feet, and I just doubled it. So I got another chair, and I got someone working with me now, which is great. But for a while there, I would be working pretty much straight through from 10 until 6, and just duck out for about 15 minutes when I could, and get my tea. And 6 o'clock, I try my best to finish cutting hair by 6, so I could clean up and get it onto the ferry by 6:15. If everything works out well, I'm home by quarter to 7, and have some dinner, put the kids to bed, and then that's when the other work starts. Bookkeeping, emails. What's really great about social media today in a lot of businesses, customer-based service businesses, is that it's free, but it also takes a lot of time. And you can't leave anyone hanging. If they get to you on Twitter or Facebook, email, whatever it is, you can't let that go for a couple days. So every evening I've got to spend, like, some days I don't get anything, but other days I'll get 3 or 4 things. And you know, it's very important, but it's really at that point of the night when you just want to relax, have something to eat with your wife or husband or whoever you want to have something to eat with. You have to, you know, you gotta get at that. So, you know, that's been really one of the hardest parts I didn't really anticipate, is just that extra time. I was always used to going to work in the morning, doing my thing, and then leaving, and then just doing whatever afterwards, right? But there's a lot of reward to having your own business and stuff like that. But there's also a few extra, you know, there's the extra work, I guess, which everyone here will be familiar with. And yeah, we got a bookkeeper recently, which has been awesome. So that's been great. I'm going to pass it on to Matt.
Sure. And by the way, I didn't mention it, but I went through CWF, so I know Nicole Osmond's here today. Appreciate that. Yeah, so my typical day is I always wake up around 5:45 in the morning, and I usually spend an hour and a half learning if it's new coding language, or if it's databases, or I just took this, and I definitely recommend it if you're getting in the technology industry. Stanford University has an amazing, it's just an online course. It's on YouTube. There's 24 videos, but they take you from the very beginning. It's the lean startup approach. But it's an amazing course, and they'll bring people in from Silicon Valley to talk about their experiences and about a lot of the myths about, building a technology company, where one of the biggest myths I think is people get all kinds of investment up front without really a product market fit. And I think that's one of the worst things in the world you could do. I'm very fortunate that I did deal with CIBF, who referred me over to Dalhousie, who referred me to the head of entrepreneurship there, who told me to read 2 books, The Lean Startup Approach and another book by Eric Ries. I think that is Lean Startup Approach. But anyway, nevertheless, I read those books within a few days, and it really opened my eyes to the proper way, and it saved me a ton of money going forward. So anyway, going back to it, I wake up in the morning, I always either read something or I watch something about a video. Of course, I probably enrolled in more courses than I can handle right now, but it's just I love learning, and I feel like if you can learn a lot, you're going to see things that other people can't see. I remember watching the Steve Jobs movie, and he didn't go to university. He traveled, and he did go to university. He took a typography class. I mean, he just stepped in the class. But the thing that he did, he always would teach himself. He'd always learn something new, and then he would see things that nobody else would see. And I always wake up in the morning and said, what are my competitors doing? Are they learning something new? Well, because I am, and I'm up at 4:45 in the morning, and I'm learning something. So, I'm going to see things that they won't be able to see, and that's going to put me, top of the game. So I always do that, and then my goal is always to reach out to somebody I don't know, or just meet with somebody that's better than me, who's way up, maybe who's already succeeded in a business. And I like to talk to them because they always tell you things that you may not know, and you just sit on it, you sleep on it, and the next day you'll just like, yeah, that makes total sense. And you take a totally different approach. I remember I met with somebody here in Halifax. He's very successful. I sat down with him for half hour, the best half hour of my life. He's a very successful entrepreneur, and I went home and I changed my whole marketing. I took the approach of, I'm going to go for this customer, I'm going to have all this money, and it's going to be great. But that's not the reality. I mean, I have a product that's heavily focused on sales and marketing. I have to build relationships, and that's fine. But he told me that focus on one thing and do really do well with that one thing, and then move on. So I always make sure I meet with somebody new. I meet with my customers. I sit down. Sometimes it takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours. I remember sitting on email for 3 hours once, where I just kept editing, and it was a very strategic email. But I'll send emails, and I'll meet with customers, and I'll build relationships, and I'll go to the gym, and I live with my mom right now, so I hang out with her for a bit. So, yeah, I do sleep on my mom's couch. That was a sacrifice. I don't really care. It sort of sucks, but yeah. So it'll be worth it in the end. Saving my resources, right? Because you can pay $700. That's one thing I don't also get it. You can pay $700 for rent. If you have the opportunity to live at your mom's house, laundry and food are done every day. You can't argue against that. So then I go home and I have a nice dinner. Dinner is. Yeah, laundry's nice and folded. And and you know what though? It frees up my time. It frees up my time to put my energy into my business. And I'm not afraid to admit it. And then I go to bed I go to bed early. I do wake up early, but I do go to bed. I usually I get a nighttime story, and then that's sort of my day.
Wow. My mother is not in Nova Scotia, so unfortunately I'm not blessed with that. And everyone else here sounds a lot more structured than I do, so I don't know how to walk anyone through a typical day of mine. I spend the morning lighting fires and the afternoon putting them out. But no, it's very different for me every day. If I could characterize it for you, I would, but I think the best way for me to put it in synopsis form is to say that you have to wear a lot of different hats, especially when you're starting. And very recently, we also hired a bookkeeper, which is the best thing we've ever done, because we have a lot of different accounts and different investors and people we have to report to, and having that piece taken off of my shoulders is huge, because it allows me to open up and actually do the business development piece that I should be doing, and creating new contacts and raising more money and that kind of thing. So, the tasks are varied. You don't have your own sales department when you start. You don't have your own accounting department. You don't have any of that stuff. So you have to do everything, and you have to be ready to learn, as Matt said. And I spend a lot of my time learning, I don't have it as structured. I think that's really amazing that you do, because that's a great way to commit to it. I kind of learned by doing, and when I screw up, I have to fix it, or ideally I learn from someone else. Which, another comment that you made, I would reiterate, find people that are smarter than you whenever you can, in whatever domain it is, and talk to them, tap into them, and use them, because a lot of them will help you. I think I've been rejected 4 times on networking calls that I've either done from a cold call or been introduced, and I've talked to 600 people in the last 2 years. They are your best resource. Talk to people, get them to help you, and you'll be very productive.
My days are really different as well. Being a farmers market based business, our Saturdays are insane. If anyone's ever been to pretty much any farmers market on a Saturday, it's usually the day that things happen. So 50% of our sales, like looking at the week, 50% of our sales happen on Saturday. So that is like go time. I'm usually there for about 14 hours. Like I'm there really early in the morning because not enough things have gotten done on Friday night, so I'm like trying to finish them up before we open at 7, and then just like serving customers all day long. So that's really different because on those days it's really busy with people and we're interacting with tons of customers, and it's pretty much just 100% sales and no production, no behind the scenes business stuff, no emails, a little bit of, we try and get on social media. And it's kind of my favorite day because it's really like the day that everything happens at the market. All the vendors are there, you get to see all your friends and all your customers. And I also have lots of company in the kitchen because we need lots of people working on Saturday. So Seth, my partner, is always there, and a couple staff too. So that's really fun, but obviously like a really exhausting day as well. Just talking to people constantly and a really long day. Sunday is the same. It's the same, but to a little bit of a lesser extent because that's another big, busy day at the farmers market. So pretty much our weekends are focused on sales, and then the store's closed on Monday. So Monday is our day to be really flexible, and if there's things that both of us need to be doing, then that's the day that it has to get done. Because right now, one of us has to be in the store all the time. So. We'll run errands, have meetings, try to relax a little bit, catch up with friends, maybe catch up with some housework, but also just like sleep on Mondays because it's pretty much the only chance that we're gonna get to like relax and try and just rest up. And then throughout the week is a lot slower at the market in terms of customer interaction, so that's for me, I'm managing production. I'm usually the one in the kitchen and making all the orders, contacting all the farmers to get our stuff delivered, making the production schedule for the week, making sure any special orders or catering or bulk orders are slotted in so that they get done, and taking inventory. And then I think that you mentioned it as well. Like, I really thought when I started this that making the food and selling the food would be like 90% of the work, and everything else would just be like a little bit of extra. Like, oh, sure, actually, there's like a little bit of paperwork and put the money in the bank. But that's so not true. Like, it just still amazes me how really making the food and selling the food is such a small fraction of everything else that needs to be done. So I'm really lucky in that I have a partner that we get to share the workload and that we can kind of like divide and conquer. So Seth does a lot of the behind the scenes paperwork stuff, like dealing with all our GST, HST, dealing with all the HR stuff, staff paperwork, doing a lot of the correspondence with the emails, dealing with all the social media, all the graphics, all the labeling, ordering for all the packaging. Like, he does most of that stuff, and then I'm usually focusing on the food things. So it's really beneficial to have that for me. I don't know how people do it alone. I don't think I would have, and I really don't know how people do it with kids. That's amazing, because like my cat gets neglected. So. One of our parents was teasing us about having kids. I was like, no. Unless you want to move here and we can live with you and you can do the laundry and the Yeah, so my days are really different all over. I try to get up early, but I'm not a morning person except on Saturday when I really have to be. I try to get up early and get some stuff around the house done. And then we open at 10, so I'm there by 9 and get set up. And then after we close at 5 is when I try to catch up with any paperwork stuff or emails or correspondence that Seth isn't able to do alone, or if we need to have discussions or make plans or the two of us meet then usually in the evenings. And then any other meetings or things like that, events like this. Or the other thing is I do some speaking and consulting, so whenever I have appointments and we need to schedule to replace me in the kitchen, and then I go do a talk somewhere or meet with a client or something like that. So,
I would say my days are pretty similar. They're very varied. I'm fortunate enough to now have 7 full-time staff pretty much. So I'm at the shop every day, but it's completely dependent on the day what my roles are going to be for my activities at the shop. For instance, this morning I was there, I was cutting meat for the 5 hours, and that was starting from 8 a.m. onward. So I usually, when I do open the shop, I get there between 8 and 8:30, and then we usually cut for around 4 or 5 hours until my secondary meat cutter comes in, and then I'll either do culinary prep for the catering side, or I'll go to the office and I'll send emails. We run a full-time catering company as well, and so I act as the head chef for that. So when the shop runs during the day, usually I'm booking and consulting and writing menus and estimates for clients on the catering side. And we also do private dinners in store in the evenings as well, and we do usually between 1 and 3 of those a week. So they can either be corporate events or just friends wanting to go out for dinner, and it's groups between 8 and 20. So I book and consult for those and then execute those in the evening. So if I have a private dinner, usually I'll go in around 11 a.m. and then we'll be there till 12 at night. And that usually happens 2 to 3 times a week. So it's a lot. It's really dependent on the day. Monday is my accounting day, which is always very fun. But I'm also a bookkeeper and God lover, because I don't know what I do without her. But yeah, and then if it's just a regular day without a private dinner, I usually get up at 8, do paperwork for a couple hours, send emails, go into the shop by 10 or 10:30, do prep for the shop, follow up with my staff, do some management that way, write a couple lists, run some errands, come back to the shop, close the shop by 6:30, go home, have dinner with my partner, and then usually just follow up on the social media side. I definitely have to agree with that. We are very fortunate to have that kind of on our side as small business owners in this time and in our generation. But you never, I had no idea how much time it takes. And it's so lovely that it works so well in our favor, but it also really, like tweeting, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. It's a very consistent, everyday task on.
All right, perfect. So I'll just get you hang on to that. So in my experience, there's been a lot of like problems when you have your own business, and I'm sure you guys have encountered them. So I'd ask, you don't all have to tell a story, but tell us about a significant problem you faced and then how you handled it.
One of the hardest parts that I had was just being such a small shop with just myself working for the first year and a half. At the start, it was slowly kind of gained momentum and got busy relatively quicker than I had thought and planned for, I guess. And just managing customers' expectations in terms of how long they would have to wait for a haircut. You can't really cut anyone short in the terms of that, you can't thanks, Paul. You can't rush anyone out because the next guy is in a rush or whatever, We just had, you got to be honest with people when they come in the shop and stuff like that in terms of how long it's going to take. Yeah, the hardest part for me, I guess, was I have to get home and help put my kids to bed, relieve some of the pressure off my wife. And So my cutoff for getting another shop is when there's enough guys that take me through to 6 o'clock. So every now and then there's a day that 4:30 someone could show up and you already have 6 guys waiting, which is really lovely. And you feel terrible because these people are coming to support you and stuff like that. But you have to you have to deal with that as best you can. You got to be genuine with them and like understand where they're coming from as well. But you also have to set boundaries to a certain extent, I guess. Otherwise, some days you could stay there, forever. You just need boundaries, I guess, or whatever. But just dealing with that was tricky because you want to please everyone, and you want to grow quickly, and you want to be successful. And I guess the way I dealt with it is I've got somebody working with me now, and the other chair going most of the time, and that's really great, and it's exciting to find someone that I feel confident with. Today was actually the first day that I left the shop with Dexter. Have you met Dexter?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dexter and another friend of mine, Chris, is working at the shop. Well, they think at 6 tonight, but today was the first day that I left. I left at 2 o'clock, and it felt strange walking out the door. And we made a little joke. I just kind of walked by slowly afterwards. But it feels amazing now, having people that I trust and stuff like that. But it took a while, and you need to find the right people too. So I'll pass it back to you before we throw it over that side.
I would say kind of back to Jesse's comment a bit. When you open a business, I was like, we'll make sausages, we'll cut meat, we'll run a catering company, it'll be great, it'll be easy. And then suddenly you have 5 full-time staff, and you're like, what's HR? Where did that I don't know what it is. So I would probably say it's been a very interesting and probably steep at first learning curve on how to really manage properly. And HR is a very important part of the business, especially as you're growing and expanding and looking at benefits and wanting to offer your staff different things and see your staff stay, because when you're growing a business, your whole idea is to find people who want to be there and to trust in your vision and who you trust as well, and that allow you to sometimes walk out at 2 o'clock so that you can have a couple hours to yourself or go to an event like this. So for me, I would say the most difficult part has been as the business grows, just getting to know the whole management side of things, and I guess the way that we dealt with that is I participated with a master's program that was concentrating in HR development for corporations, and so I had a student working with me, and they helped me put together a really proper HR plan and put together employee handbooks and put together letter of offers and put together and really get set to. We have benefits now for my full-time staff, and just kind of develop that whole plan, because that was an area that was completely over my head. It had nothing to do with onions or or sausage. So I would definitely say that was a huge learning curve, and it's really nice to be more comfortable in the idea of management now as well. Like, I would say we're all pretty young business owners, and when you start to employ people and you start to have full-time staff, and you're looking at people that are, all my staff is either my age, older than me, or maybe a year younger. And you really have to draw an important line as to who's the employer and who's the employee, but as well have an extreme amount of respect for the people that are working with you, but really have that understanding. And I found it extremely hard to create a balance between a friendship and employer-employee relationship with my staff, because I was hiring on friends, and I really, really enjoy the people that work with me, but that becomes really important once you kind of, dive more into the HR factor of it. So I would say that was the most important lesson for me, and it's been a good lesson to learn.
I would say my biggest mistake was in my thinking. I think a lot of us will see the LinkedIn, we'll see the Facebook, we'll see WhatsApp chat just got sold for $19 billion to Facebook, or was it Facebook?
Facebook,
yeah, Facebook. And then we're thinking, oh, they just created it yesterday, and they just sold for $19 billion. I mean, that's totally did not happen. I mean, and that's what I thought. I thought, okay, I have a great idea. Come on, investment, and then, you know, make millions and, you know, happily ever after. But no, that doesn't work. I mean, and so many people will, I'm not going to tell you my idea. I have a great idea. I'm not going to. I mean, there's no way people are going to take your idea, because I think the hardest thing is the execution. It's to do it. And I mean, that was my false thinking. I had this great idea, and I didn't really do anything. And I thought, okay, well, the money's just going to come if I don't do anything. But that's not it. My thinking was, you have to do it. Like, you have to learn. I learned computer programming. I self-taught myself. I was up late at night on Saturday night when everybody's going out. I'd be in my computer programming. What a nerd, right? But that's what I do. I would do whatever it takes to be successful. So it was my thinking. So I had to learn to code. So then when I hired my developers, there's another mistake, is hiring good talent. So I'm a little bit different than everybody here, where I have it's in the cloud, right? It's software. I don't have inventory. So my developers are the backbone of my company, and I started out with weak developers, and I realized that, and I had to, you know, let them go, and I hired some. Now I have the best 2 developers in the world. I mean, they're absolutely fantastic. And I'm definitely not telling their names, because I don't know if you guys are in this. But I'm keeping on to them, and they're with my company. I've given them stock options, and I mean, I was talking to them today. I mean, we have the best team, and we get along great. And that is what taken us to the next level. I mean, we went to our beta testing, and you know, we were successful. They were right there on the phone with me if there's any customer complaints. But our software held through, our server held, and everything worked out great. Now the instructor is selling, you know, they're talking with the platform with inside of the universities, because we've built something so effective for students. So I guess going back, the biggest mistake was my thinking that it would just come to me. But that totally does not happen. You know, I've watched every single Shark Tank. I don't know if you guys have, but it's the best show in the world. But Mark Cuban, he's a big hero. I just like Mark Cuban a ton. And I mean, if you know Mark Cuban, he owns Dallas Mavericks. He's worth over billions of dollars. But you know, he always has a great comment. He says, so many people want to be a entrepreneur. Somebody who just, you know, I've created a blog and, you know, 5 people came today. I mean, you know, I think so many people want to be an entrepreneur. It's taking that step, quitting your job. I quit my job and I don't know what I was doing. I just sat down with you know, my boss, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I made that leap. And I wake up in the morning sometimes and I feel sick to my stomach. But at the end of the day, you know, when a customer or a student writes a testimonial and says, like, your soft solution helped me, I mean, that's all that matters. So, you know, again, it's the thinking. You have to do the work, learn it, hire good talent, make your developers test their own code. I mean, if you have my name or my number, contact me if you have a technology idea, because I will literally tell you the biggest mistake. And I hope there's no developers in here, but a lot of them will. Are there any coders in here, developers? Because, you know, there's a lot of great ones, but testing the code, make sure, you know, they test their code. I would spend hours and hours and hours with all 5 browsers. I'm testing every single thing. So yeah, just hire good talent, go out and execute, and just make it happen. And cash is king. Customers are your number 1 priority. Period.
Yeah, a lot of good comments. I think what's coming out of this is it's not about the number 1 problem you face, but I think the lens I quickly had to adapt becoming an entrepreneur was that I'm just every day going to face a series of problems. And you have to be okay with that. And so honestly, if I could relabel the employees that we're hiring, their job titles, they'd all be problem solvers, lead problem solvers of some sort. Without a joke at all, because they're being put into a role in a small team and having to tackle many different tasks that they're not used to, more so than they would be in a larger company. So I don't know, maybe I'll just offer a quick, how much time do we have?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. A couple of quick problems. I mean, right from the beginning, you know, how much should each co-founder of the company get for equity? How do you solve that? What should the price per share be when we're selling equity to investors? Those are 2 examples of problems that I had to solve with my co-founders, and which really boiled down to having really effective communication skills, working together as a good team, and making sure that your communication lines are actually open in a very constructive way. Other problems, working with potential investors. We've had some investors we've taken money from, others that we've had to walk away from. Offers from $20,000 for 30% of your company to $500,000 for 40% of your company. Both of which we had to walk away from because there's other sort of terms and things there that just weren't going to work. And that's a problem because your co-founders are, I mean, I'm responsible for raising money for the company. Your co-founders are sitting there saying, well, you know, we need money to launch this thing, right? And so, I mean, I'll walk you through the latter example there, and something I learned from it. We walked away from a decent offer for a decent amount of money, and had to just point blank reject the offer. 5 minutes later, I get an email back saying, "Hey, Chris, how about a game of squash?" And so this is, all of a sudden not business anymore. Go and play a game of squash, and in between games, after we're trying to kill each other on a court, we're negotiating a business deal. We kept negotiating, and I think we made a lot of grounds, a lot of traction in that negotiation. But ultimately, I guess, couldn't come to a deal. But the point is that going through that, I gained a lot of respect from those investors and from other investors, because you have to be able to negotiate if you're going to bring in an investor and they're going to believe in you as the CEO of a company to go out and get a deal done. For example, in our case, is this guy really going to be able to go out and sign a partnership deal or get distributors and retailers? And so you have to be prepared for that and to face each problem and learn from it as you go, because the lesson learned out of those was that we were able to close other investors on much better terms and be much more productive and get really true partners out of it.
Yeah, I think what you said about a series of problems, I found that really true, and just different things every day, and that your day doesn't end, like your shift doesn't end like it might with other jobs, and just being ready and maintaining the energy to deal with stuff constantly coming up. And even like I said, I have a business partner, so I have someone in it with me, but still it can be really lonely, and you don't have coworkers, you don't have a boss to go like, okay, I have this problem, I can't handle it, what do I do? There's no one to tell you the right answer. And even if you have wonderful mentors and wonderful friends who will give you advice, a lot of the time it's all new, it's uncharted territory, it's your business in a very specific scenario, so no one really knows what to do. And just not giving up, I think, is probably the biggest challenge, for a while on a daily basis. And right now, I don't have to convince myself to keep going daily, which is really great. I think probably the most significant problem that we faced was our location. While we were waiting on a space at the Seaport Farmers Market, the Farmers Market was going through a transition from being owned by the co-op to being owned by the Port Authority. And so that's been really great for the farmers market overall, but the transition took a lot longer than we were told to expect. So we were upstairs around the corner in an interim space that was supposed to be for a couple months while we waited for a storefront location. And the interim space ended up, we were there for 14 months. And most of the conversations I would have with people was like, oh, I'm at the farmer's market. Oh, where? Well, upstairs. Oh, I never go upstairs. Yeah, it's around the corner. Oh, around what corner? Well, around the corner from Java Blend and Ramoso Pizza at that dead end. Oh, I didn't even know anything was over there. Or we have customers that they finally found us after coming to the market for weeks and weeks and trying to find us and seeking us out, and they couldn't find us. So then I also had good customers that were like, oh, I keep meaning to come, but I load up on everything downstairs and my bags are just too heavy, the kids are tired, we go home, we don't make it upstairs. So it was very apparent to us that our location was a problem, and we were sort of stuck, we were just kind of patiently waiting for things to transition to the port and wait for our turn, because they did so many great things with the market, improving a lot of different aspects. So we were trying to just be really patient and really positive and really understanding about everything that everyone was working really hard on to improve, until finally we took a really close look at where things were at and realized we couldn't wait much longer, because if we continued to wait, it just wasn't working out. We had made the business plan and planning to be open all week long, but we couldn't in this location. And it just was not sustainable, and we were gonna be done. We were gonna just run out of cash flow and it would all be over. So we got mad and calmed down just a little bit and really pushed for some meetings and for some things to happen. And a lot of people that were giving us advice said that, you two work really well, you have a lot of skills, but you're both too nice and you need to have a little bit more of a backbone, because you can't do all the wonderful things. You want to make people healthy food. You want to help people eat better and be healthier. You can't do those things if you don't stand up for yourself and if you don't demand the things that your business is going to need. So we actually ended up, for a little while, we were looking at other locations, and I was brokenhearted. I didn't want to leave the market, but came to the idea that maybe this is what needs to happen. So we opened things up. We talked about other possibilities. And when we told the market that we were looking at other possibilities, things started to move along. And they've been wonderful. Like, I don't speak ill at all of anyone at the market or the Port Authority, but I was told once, actually, by a former manager there that, well, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I was like, really? Like, that's the policy? Okay, I guess they need to start squeaking. So just being really aware, and kind of like what you said about your customers too, like knowing your boundaries, and you don't have coworkers or anyone else sticking up for you or deciding what's the right thing to do. So you need to figure that out, and you need to make that happen.
Great, thank you. So I'll combine these two questions into one, and then we'll open it up for some questions from the audience. What do you like best about having your own business, and what's your next step / goal in your career?
I love our customers. I love everything for the most part. It's a day-to-day challenge, and there's always some kind of fire that you're gonna have to put out. I think you learn how to pretty much smile through anything, which is a good thing. Like, my staff always joke around that I always have rainbows and poppies in my back pocket, because I'm like, the dishwasher is broken, sure. But you just have to do that, because otherwise you'll be angry and stressed out all the time, and I've been there, and it's not very fun. So yeah, you just I think the best part is the clientele, and I love my staff. They're wonderful people, and they choose to be there every day, and they put in such a great effort, and then I can see the way that our clients, and we have a great return customer base. I love our customers react and communicate with the staff and like the product, and they'll come in, and when somebody just says thank you for opening, that sums it up. It's just really, really nice to have that kind of appreciation, and the same from our farmers. So I love what I do. It's definitely consistent and hard work and a challenge, but at the same time, it's fun, and it's always an adventure.
Cool.
I kind of feel the same way about that. One of my favorite parts of the job is definitely the people. And if you get into a customer kind of service industry and stuff like that, you really have to love what you do. Otherwise, when it gets really busy, it'll show, and you're not going to be at your best for people and stuff like that. But it's definitely my favorite part. I get to spend about 15 to 20 minutes with each customer, and it might take a couple of times for me to remember people's names and stuff like that, but we're making friends every day and stuff like that. I guess that's the best part. People come back and they're happy, and you get to you establish relationships every day, and that's pretty neat. So I really like that. And next, my goal or whatever.
Yep.
Next step is the whole being an employer and just taking things from all the employers that I've had and stuff like that, the good and the bad, and just trying to make just do the best I can at that and treat people fairly and just really well, and hope that we can retain the people that we have and stuff like that. Thank you.
What I like about what I'm doing is I don't really hear no very often within my own team. So I'm not been the best with rules. A lot of times in job I'd get in trouble just because I don't know. Rules are just so, I just don't like that. I like creativity. I love brainstorming. I love sitting down with my team and we can create whatever. Right? You can create. I love it. I just love, we just have great collaboration, and I love that. I love that there's, you have to wear black pants. I mean, what? And in my old job, I wore these off-color black, and I got written up for that. I mean, are you kidding me? So I just love the fact that, we're creating value. And that's the other thing. Really, in the end, I get excited to go see professors. I get truly excited because I love the look on their eyes when I show them what we've built. That's what I love. And in the end, I say, why would you use this? And they say improved outcomes. And that's why we did it. I mean, period. I mean, that's what I truly love. I love the creativity. I don't hear no, well, sometimes from customers. I try to mitigate that as much as we can. But, you know, and then just building something where, you know, you see that, you know, you provided value, really.
Yeah. I'll try and keep it short. I absolutely love the people I work with as well. I think that's huge. Big thing that comes out of this, if you're ever going to start something, create a great team. You start with that. It'll be a lot easier from there. Next steps, I want to get our product distributed globally to improve people's lives around the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I really love. I love our customers. I love when people now get really overwhelmed by food sometimes. They've been told they shouldn't have gluten, or they're having a reaction to soy, or someone they love is having a health condition and they try to eat healthy, and food's just become really complicated, and we've gotten away from a lot of like local real food. So when people come and they realize that like everything that we make is soy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, so no animal products, so we can accommodate a lot of allergies and people with multiple allergies, and people who have kids who are told they can't eat treats. And so when the kids come up and they find out that they can eat the desserts that we have, or people are really excited that their father-in-law will actually eat this healthy food because it tastes good. That's really awesome. That people enjoying the taste of healthy food is really exciting for us. We love being able to write big checks to local farmers and getting a lot of local stuff, and I guess just making those decisions, getting to make the decision of everything that we do, why we do it, and not having to compromise any of our values according to other policies or company policies. I've worked for a lot of great places in the past, but little things would drive me crazy. A center I worked at for children with special needs, and they didn't recycle. And I loved the workplace, I loved the clients, I loved my coworkers, everything was great, but they didn't recycle, and it drove me insane. Or working at a retirement residence, and the food was not really helping the seniors that live there. So just little things that you have to, they kind of weigh on you sometimes. And so we get to make every decision according to what we think is the right thing to do, and that's really great. Next steps are having a little bit more freedom outside of the kitchen, increasing our staff team so I can do some more consulting and more workshops, and maybe getting 2 days off in a row. That's a big goal. Sometime in the next 6 months is both of us are going to be off for more than 1 day.
Thank you.
That's my next step.
Sorry, yeah. Tell people you guys skip that. If anyone has any questions, I have more. So if you don't have any questions, all right, yeah.
So you bring some business cards, and second question, what are you guys doing for marketing in your business? Because I can help you. All of you.
What am I doing for marketing?
Yeah, and do you have business cards? Just bring cards with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did last networking, but I forgot.
Good. And second question, what are you guys doing for your marketing?
Right now, we're actually not really doing any marketing right now. We're taking still a lean sharp approach. We're creating the wheel here in Nova Scotia.
You got to market.
That's it. Yeah. So we're what's working best for us is word of mouth. That's how it's spreading. But we do have a marketing strategy in place, and but yeah, I mean, I'm always open to hear ideas and suggestions.
So yes, business cards. Marketing, we are in the process of developing a plan for inbound marketing to try and create a lot of content to capitalize on the fact that a lot of people are out there looking for a solution to their mobility problem. So we get people from all over the world writing us through our website without advertising, asking us to use it, which is really exciting. That's one of the most exciting things as an entrepreneur. But yeah, to capitalize on that, create more content to really drive them, search engine optimization, that kind of stuff.
In terms of marketing, I guess pretty much word of mouth is pretty big in our industry, and social media. When I first opened up, I started doing some. I ran a few ads in the coast and stuff, which is great. But for the most part, social media and friends telling friends and stuff like that. And I didn't bring any business cards. I forgot.
I'm the same. We did some marketing through the coast in different avenues. We were also really fortunate that we got a fair bit of, I guess, free publicity when we first opened, which is really, really great. We still have people coming in being like, I remember when you were in the Chronicle Herald. Which is really lovely, so lovely. And now we concentrate on social media and word of mouth, which is really nice. And then we also we'll do partner marketing with different small businesses as well. So we'll advertise for other small businesses, and they hire the catering company. Or we always kind of do the scratch your back system and kind of see it going cooperatively that way. And yes, business.
Yeah, that's something I also really find important. Is if you're going to hire someone for anything, do it locally, and that way they're always going to feel a connection to your business, and they're going to help steer people your way, and vice versa, and stuff like that. And fostering partnerships with local businesses, especially in your small little area, wherever you're working out of, it's pretty important.
We've never paid for advertising so far, and word of mouth is really huge. And like Jesse said, partnering with other businesses and cross promotion and just supporting, especially at the farmers market. There's just a whole bunch of small businesses, so that's a whole bunch of people that you have rooting for you, which is fantastic. It's amazing. And social media. So we tend to take the approach that we spend our time on promotion as opposed to spending money. So we will come to, for the most part, if we can swing it, we'll go to events. We've done things like the Nova Scotia Food Gathering, and for me personally, I would rather attend an event and possibly bring samples or donate my time rather than paying for an ad. I just feel more comfortable that way, and I find that it's worked really well for us. So we tend to do that route. We tend to go participate in our community and support other small businesses and social media.
All right, Ricky.
So I believe the happiest, most successful people in the world are usually doing something they love and helping other people at the same time. So that's definitely something you guys all share. So keep that in mind. What would your dream life be? What's your dream if you could see 30 or 40 years ahead, or in 30 or 40 years look back? What would you say was living your dream life?
A lot of people have asked us about our plans for expansion, I guess, and franchising, among other things, but we're really interested in staying in Nova Scotia. People also ask about ordering our products online a lot, but it's not something I always politely decline, because we really believe in local food. So to me, I'm not going to go through all the trouble and the inconvenience sometimes of, for example, not having kale right now because it's not growing in Nova Scotia. So I'm not going to sacrifice that just to ship my kale chips to other places. To me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So we really want to stay local here in Halifax, and there's other possibilities or things that we might do to expand the business here in Halifax, but I'm not really interested in being all over the country. And
what would your dream life be, though? Not necessarily your dream career or your dream business.
Yeah, well, I guess that's part of it, is staying here, and I want to move outside of the city, so I need to learn how to drive, and I want to have a little garden, and I'd like to have a really small animal rescue. I'd like to rescue a few farm animals and have some happy rescue animals and a little bit of a garden, and still spend half my time in Halifax.
Did you want all of us to answer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just in a quick sentence, nothing, we don't even...
Yeah. Dream career-wise, I think, is how I best frame it for my current thinking, but I love the process of starting, and I want to be engaged in many startups throughout my career, because that's, I think, what I really enjoy. That said, I haven't got to the next stage yet. I'm not sitting here as a really successful entrepreneur. I think I'm someone who's just started, and I enjoy that process, and maybe I'll grow to love managing the company if it turns into a big thing down the road. At the moment, all I can say is that startup process.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm living the dream right now, I feel. I mean, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I've always been pretty happy, but I mean, I'm really happy. I mean, it's just every day you get up in the morning, it's something new. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think what I'm going to do for the rest of my life is, hopefully this, because I'm early as well, but to scale this to see where this goes, but to help other entrepreneurs and to, be an angel or a VC, whatever it may be. But I love that, or just do it again, because I mean, this is the best. Like, I mean, yeah, lots of lows, but I mean, this is the happiest. Yeah.
I guess I'd like to eventually have 3-day weekends. That would be awesome to spend more time with my kids and stuff like that. Like, that would be the dream, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, weekend would be really cool. We'd love to have a secondary processing unit in the valley, which is really close to our farmers, and that's actually what we're working on right now. So helping to build, we need more abattoirs in Nova Scotia, and I work quite closely with farmers, and I'd like to see their issues solved as well. So starting to work closer with my farmers and have a secondary processing unit, do more wholesale, another little shop, and then maybe a restaurant next to it. Somehow manage weekends. So I don't know. We'll see.
Good luck.
Yeah.
All right.
If you were to take a vacation to treat and reward yourselves, what would you do?
I would like to go to somewhere culinary based. So I spent a lot of time apprenticing in Italy, and I love it there, and I enjoyed the restaurants that I worked at there. So it'd be really nice to go and continue to practice the language that I learned and spend some time in the restaurants there and travel and eat and drink and do the things that I like to do outside of work.
I'm pretty fortunate that my wife's from Australia, so that's kind of our thing. We have to go there to visit family and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm into music a lot, so I'd like to go see maybe a band, something like that. Like Kurt Vile right now, see where he's playing.
What I would do is I would call up probably my closest friends and all my family, and I just say, take the next week off. And my vacation would be paying for all them and everybody to go down somewhere nice where everybody can relax and be together. That's what I would do.
Off the grid, 50 days, canoe, tent, me, whoever else wants to come.
I would do something really lazy, like just a beach somewhere and no stresses at all. I've never been on like a vacation. I've traveled before, but it's always been lots of like walking and learning, and I would just want to like lie around and do absolutely nothing.
Great. Yeah.
So my question is, in the coast, a lot of the media lately, there's been a lot of messaging around young professionals being doomed locally. From you guys' perspective, what is the advice that you would give somebody who's a young professional trying to kind of figure out their way in this market today?
You want to talk about that?
I would say probably I would say that, well, to not listen to that, because there is opportunity in Nova Scotia. The one thing is, though, you have to, like anything in life, be willing, as you said, to kind of put one foot in front of the other. So there's many different ways you can do it. We have so many new graduates coming out, so whether it's setting up just like informal interviews with different people, as you were saying, that you're interested in potentially working for one day and learning what kind of experience you'd have to have in order to get a placement there, or looking into, if you are interested in entrepreneurship, going to a place like Seed and seeing what programs are available, going on to our Nova Scotia government website and looking at different programs that they have. The one thing about Nova Scotia is we have a whole lot of opportunity here. You just have to find it. It's the same as for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of different funding opportunities. You just have to find it. It's amazing how many people don't know about Seed or don't know about what YBF does and how strong of a presence they have here in Nova Scotia and across Canada, or BDC. So there's always avenues available. It's really just taking the steps in order to do them, or coming into a small business and saying, hey, listen, I may not be interested in opening my own small business right now, but I'm really interested in marketing towards this. Could we sit and have a coffee, and how have you learned about marketing, or what marketing firms have you worked with, or who do you know in this area and industry? Because Nova Scotia is pretty small, so as much as it may be a difficult workforce, once you start making those community connections, it's not hard to get to know people, and it shouldn't be that difficult to find a place where you feel fit in and have a career that you enjoy. So.
Yeah, that's good.
I got another one over there.
Yep. Hi, I'm Jared. I'm a fourth-year college student at SVU. And questions for everyone. I'm basically wondering what doubts you had before starting your business and what kind of pushed you over the edge to actually go all in and start it up.
My doubt was, if I build it, will they come? Said that to myself every day. You can't really have doubts when you start a business. You can joke around, like I joke around and say that to my mom or my friends, but I guess the whole idea surrounding starting a business and taking out a lease and gaining funding and putting your own money into it is that it will work. So I think if you ever have a point or a time where you're like, this isn't going to happen, then you have to step away from it, because as Jess said too, you're the one, you don't have a boss, nobody's driving you to do it. You have to be the one that wakes up every day and is committed and says, this is a great investment, this is why it will work, this is why it'll sell to the community, this is why my customers will come back, and this is why we will grow. And if you have questions towards that and you haven't answered them, then you can't do it, because you'll let yourself down, and who knows what'll happen or where it'll spiral. So that's what I think. I just think you have to be really consistently positive about succeeding.
Yeah. And I think I think that you almost have to have like a true deep feeling that whatever you're going to pursue is going to work. Like you really just have the deep feeling that whatever you're going to do is really going to provide value. Like it's going to, and just, it's almost like, I don't know, I just always had this sense that I should be doing what I'm doing, and then making calculated risks. I mean, the startup at this stage is always mitigating your risk. You're just playing the game of risk, essentially. So to make that execute, to take that step forward, like quitting job, whatever it may be, just make sure you have money in the bank. I just cashed in my RSPs, and I don't, I want to do this until I'm dead anyway, so I don't need RSP, so. So, I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, like, I just cashed it in, and I just put it towards the business, and it gave me some leg, and then, obviously, as you all know, I live with my mom, so it gave me a lot of time, increased my runway.
I had all kinds of doubts at the beginning, and would it work? Could we execute? Could we build? Will my team be committed? Are we really all going to quit our jobs and so on and go for this? But I agree with the comments. You do have to, at some point, you have to mitigate those risks. You have to turn those into advantages and answer the questions for yourself really well. And then when you're being questioned by an investor or a partner or whoever it is that's key to your business, that's a huge point, because you believe and you have answered the questions, you know how to mitigate those risks. And then, you got to put your head down and execute. And it's not like problems won't come up. You won't have new doubts from time to time, and you got to work through them, but you have to remain committed. At least that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I had a lot of doubts, and I still do. For me, it would come down to I would get to a point where I was like, okay, screw this. This is not working. This is not happening. I want to give up. But then I would think, okay, and then what? Because I didn't come from a career that was really supporting me very well, and I took different things in school, but none of them really led to anything that was going to support me and I would really enjoy. So my thought of, well, and then what? Is my alternative going to be any better? Is it going to be any less stressful? Is it going to be any more rewarding? And also, to be completely honest, one of the things that always kind of drove me and made me stop and keep going was that if someone else does this, I genuinely think this is a really good idea, and I think that this is the right place and the right time for it, and if I don't do it, someone else is going to, and I'm going to be so pissed off. I'll be so jealous, and I'll be so mad. So that is one thing that I always knew that the idea and the concept would work well and it would be good because it's nothing like brand new. It's in other places, but it just wasn't here yet, and I really felt it was the right time. So I guess my doubts were more around like, could I keep doing this, and is this going to work for us? Because the other thing is with the downside of having two partners is that's two salaries that the business needs to pay on top of their employees. So it's not just one person that has to support; it's two. So that was the thing. It's like, is this going to be enough for both of us? And are we the type of people and a couple that can do this? Like, is this going to work for us? Because there's sometimes that I think certain things about my personality just don't go well with being an entrepreneur. But just sort of like power through and keep going because I just know I'll be really mad at myself if I don't.
I've been doing the same thing for 11 years before I actually got into owning my own shop. So I had been making money for other people for that amount of time, and it just took opening my eyes, having a family as well, and just needing to earn more money than I was, and stuff like that, I guess. But yeah, I didn't really have any doubts because there wasn't anything particularly like what I was doing, and yeah, I felt very confident, and yeah, I like what Jesse said. You have to really, you gotta go for it and stuff like that, like everyone here did. And if you like what you do, then you should go for it, I think. And you feel confident.
All right, so that just about wraps us up here. So thanks everyone coming out, and thanks for our awesome panelists.